If you've signed up for an Ironman or are thinking about completing one, you probably want to know what you're signing up for. If you haven't already watched it, head over and watch our What Ironman Takes video for a complete overview of what Ironman training requires.
Yeah, well, today we're going to take it a step further and we're going to talk you through a normal, or should we say ideal, Ironman training week.
The hardest part of completing an Ironman is the training. Unless, of course, you decide not to do any training, in which case race day might be the hardest thing you ever do in your life. Assuming you are planning to be fully prepared for your Ironman, then what does an ideal training week look like?
Yeah, well, that's where we're here. We're going to be talking through that structure, looking at how you can fit in the swimming, the cycling and the running that you need to do an Ironman, and making sure that one session doesn't ruin another, but you're also getting enough recovery between those.
Yeah, balancing all of this between work and family and at least a little bit of sleep can be quite difficult. It takes careful balancing and adjusting to make sure you aren't overdoing it in one area while neglecting another area where you could be building fitness in your week.
Yeah, now we know we've often say this, but beyond watching our videos, obviously go to that point first. And on that note, make sure you click on the bell icon and subscribe so you don't miss any. But it is a good idea to get a coach if you can, because they will help you look at that overall structure. They'll work on your goals and help you drive towards those, look at your weaknesses and your strengths, and importantly, making sure you've just got that correct balance. But obviously that's not available to everyone. And we are here with the video, so I think we should crack on.
First, let's take a look at what you need to fit into each week. Now, there's some flexibility in this and we'll try to explain it as we go along, but ideally you're going to fit in 3 swims, 3 bikes and 3 runs every week. Now, as you can immediately see, that's 9 sessions and there's only 7 days in a week, so that means double session days. In fact, if you want to fit in a strength session or gym session on top of that and a day off, that means many double session days. Now, if you have a particular strength in one of the disciplines, such as swimming, for example, you could probably get away with 2 sessions or even 1 session a week. But for most people, 3 sessions a week is going to be what's required.
Yeah, and when you actually then start to look at those sessions, you don't want to just approach it as swimming, cycling and running and just going and doing them. You need to have a specific goal, a specific requirement for what you want to get out of that session, but also out of that training day. Because like we say, you will be doing more than 1 session in a day. When it comes to swimming, for example, you can actually fit in a few aspects within 1 session if you structure it well. So you could work on some technique, you can do aerobic work, but you can also start to look at the strength for your stroke. But when it comes to the cycling and the running, it's more likely that you're going to have one focus for a session. So it could be doing race pace efforts, it could be doing hill work, working on your strength, or maybe again developing that aerobic base.
So these are the 10 sessions you got to fit into your ideal training week. 3 swims, each incorporating technique and a specific focus. 3 bikes, a long bike, a shorter bike focusing on strength or strength endurance, and a shorter bike focusing on speed or threshold work. A longer run, a shorter run focusing on strength or strength endurance, and a shorter run focusing on speed or speed endurance. And then a core session or gym session or flexibility session.
Now that sounds like a huge amount to get in and can be a little bit daunting. So this is actually the challenging part of working out how you can fit all of that together so that one session doesn't detriment another. So it's time to look at that structure. Well, we've built this presuming you are working fairly regular hours, so something like a 9 till 5 job. And with that, we're hoping you can do 1 session before work, and then you've got the option of doing your second one potentially in your lunch break or after work during the weekdays. And we are going to presume that you've got a fair amount of time to train on the weekends.
Of course, we are aware that not many people actually live a life with such a regular schedule. And as we go on, we will try and explain to you how you can adjust this to fit your specific schedule. But to start with your Ironman training, you need to look at fitting around 7 to 9 hours a week in training and build it up to around 13 to 16 hours as you get closer to your goal race. Of course, the number of hours you actually do kind of depends on your talent and your experience level and of course what your Ironman goals are.
And when it comes to your swimming, you'll see we've planned them for Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. Now, the purpose being there's a day between each so that your arms can recover. And on the whole, there's shorter sessions so you can fit them in hopefully around your work, hence why we include them all in the week. And when it comes to actually planning which session you put where, you don't really need to worry too much with swimming because, like we mentioned earlier, you'll be actually working several energy systems within them, so there's not going to be one really big one that you have to focus on. They're all going to be sort of fairly similar in that sense.
And then we put your bike rides, your morning bike rides on a Tuesday, Thursday, and a Saturday. Unlike swimming though, you do have one big bike ride. So that's going to be on the day that you have the most time, on a Saturday generally. You can't really squeeze a long bike ride into less time. A long bike ride takes a long time. And as you get closer to your race, you're probably also going to add a brick run to this long bike ride.
Well, then that leaves the running, and we've scheduled that for Wednesday, Friday and Sunday, and you can see that that is filling in the gaps, but it isn't actually an afterthought. If anything, you want to plan your running first because the run will take much more out of you and therefore you're going to need more time to recover from it. Well, the runs on Wednesday and Friday are your shorter runs, and you'll notice that we've put them after your swim. And there is a reason for that. You can swap it if you want, but a hard swim is not likely to really affect your run very much. However, the other way round, a hard run can make you feel quite flat in the pool and start to affect your technique. And when it comes to swimming, technique is so important. But then you've got the big run on Sunday, and you'll notice it does come after the bike on Saturday. So you're going to feel a little bit heavy and maybe slightly fatigued, but there is a reason for that. When it comes to race day, you will be running after a big bike, so it's making you prepared for that mentally and physically. And then when it comes to Monday, no running, but yes, you've got to swim, but it's a day off for the legs.
Yeah, and then you'll see, finally, we've put a core session or a gym session on a Tuesday evening. Now this, you can actually move to anywhere in the week. Your core and your strength session for Ironman training is mostly functional, so it shouldn't leave you completely smashed, but you should fit it somewhere in your week. As we have said, this is the ideal Ironman training week, or our version of it. And it's probably not going to work for everyone. It might not work for you, which means you're going to have to make some adjustments to it. So here are some tips for doing just that.
Keep the swims first. Swim is technique focused and fatigue affects your ability to hold that correct technique.
Do your long run before an easy day. At your most tired, not only are you training tired, but you also need the most recovery after a big run day.
You can alternate big sessions weekly if you have time constraints, such as a long ride every other Saturday and a long run on the alternate weekend. While this will give you a lower training volume, it will help to free up some time while still getting both long rides and long runs into your program.
And one more thing before we go. You'll notice from our program that we haven't included a complete rest day anywhere in your week. Now, some people may need a complete rest day at some point in their week, both mentally and physically. And if that's the case, you definitely should schedule it in. But of course, this means cutting out one of the sessions or doing another double session day or even a triple session day. So you need to weigh up for yourself whether it's worth it to have that complete day off once a week. Now, many triathletes, what they will do is have a legs off day. That is a day where they only have a swim because essentially you can recover from your biking and running on that day, but still fit in all the sessions in the week.
Yeah, well, we hope that we've now given you enough tools to be able to work out a structure that works for you. And we understand that our plan that we suggested isn't going to be necessarily perfect out of the box for you, but hopefully in understanding the reasons behind how it all comes together, you can work out how to adjust it so that it does become the perfect training structure for you. Well, good luck with that Ironman training. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Give us a like if so, and remember, click on the globe to subscribe.